Type man in boxing, led the Flair Cops. Shout out to Goodfellas Sports TV. Woo!
Don't forget to check out our sponsor, The Health Blaze, at thehealthblaze.com. 100% all natural products from lotions, soaps, foot soaks, bath bombs, and much, much more. Use the promo code Goodfella1Boxing. Tell them your boy CJ Goodfella sent you. Get 18% off. We out.
All right, yesterday we talked a little bit about Terence Crawford, Errol Spence versus Floyd Mayweather, his best at 147 pounds. Larry Merchant basically said it was a 50-50 fight. Tim Bradley said he had beat Terence Crawford. But let's talk about the landscape of the welterweight division today. Keith at his best, I would probably say Keith's best was somewhere between Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, Sean Porter, which I believe those guys would have been more competitive than Robert Guerrero's, the Marquez's, the Canelo Alvarez's, and let's talk about it. And I might redo the live tonight. I'm going to put in the community tab before this video uploaded, or you can say in the comment section if you want to redo talking about Terence, Errol Spence, today's welterweights, or junior welterweights, you want to say lightweights, so today landscape versus Floyd Mayweather at his best at 147, 135 pounds. But let's talk about it. Check out the welterweight playlist. I might add to the Mayweather Effect playlist too as well too. And I'm not diminishing what Mayweather was at his best. What he was at his best was 30 and 35. Okay, say the same thing about Shane Mosley, Roberto Duran maybe, Chavez. Even though I feel that Roberto Duran did great things outside the 135-pound division. But people talking about, well, it can't be a 50-50. It can't be a 50-50. In my opinion, 50-50 doesn't mean it means it's going to be a competitive fight. And I think if you want to talk about Keith Thurman, I think Keith Thurman to a certain extent is competitive. He's not going to get 12 zipped. One thing about Keith Thurman, he got IQ, he got feet. It depends how Keith Thurman, he's going to lose regardless to Floyd at 47. Talking about Floyd versus Madonna, or Floyd getting to the division versus Baltimore, Zab Judah, those guys. My problem with Keith Thurman is that he loads up. And maybe he load up and hit Floyd on the shoulder. Maybe the game plan is to hit Floyd on the shoulder, hit him on the elbow, and open him up that way. But I believe Floyd sitting there, I'm going to do, because my right hand right here, sitting here in the shoulder roll, Keith Thurman throwing them hooks. Floyd ain't even going to have to roll most of the time. All Floyd going to do, he's doing the left hand. All Floyd going to do is that. He may knock out Keith Thurman, because I think Floyd wasn't pillow-fisted till punch a little bit. I think Floyd was maybe a medium hard-hitting puncher. And I just think he might have probably stopped Keith Thurman, especially jab to the body. Jesus Soto Corrales hurt him. I think Diego Chavez had his moments and touched Keith Thurman a little bit. But I think Keith Thurman, as long as it goes, he ain't be competitive. I think Keith Thurman might be 8'4", maybe 7'5". But I don't think Keith Thurman get 12 zip like Canelo Alvarez, But the problem with Keith Thurman, he load up. And Floyd gonna be able to touch him up. Keith loading up with them hooks, Floyd gonna touch him to the stomach, touch him to the chest, jab him to the head. He gonna take Keith Thurman out. But Keith Thurman is going to be competitive. Like it or not, Keith Thurman is going to be competitive. Talking about Sean Porter. Sean Porter going to have a great night versus Floyd until Floyd counter him. And the question is, we ain't really seen Sean Porter hurt. We seen him on the canvas. Just because you hit the canvas doesn't mean you got a bad chin. Muhammad Ali hit the canvas. Pernell hit the canvas. He's seen as one of the greatest defensive fighters. Trinidad was on the canvas. You got different reasons for being on the canvas. It might be a shot you didn't see coming. It might be a questionable droppage like Conor and Paulie Malignaggi. But when you talking about being dropped, it depends. Like Khan is hurt, But Khan is beating power punches like Madonna. He had easier time. I would say Khan beat Madonna better the first time than Floyd did, the first time. But with Sean, it's all about Sean. Really, I think Sean could do better than Madonna, but do Sean have Madonna power? No. I think Sean will close the gap on Floyd. Sean, people ain't gonna like this. If you had to bet my money, as long as it goes, I think Sean would have gave Floyd the most fits. His feet is fat. Only problem with Sean is Kenny can't really get him punching with leverage. If Sean could punch with leverage like he's supposed to, Sean probably be the best welterweight right now. Sean probably beat everybody. Toughest fight probably would be a Terence Crawford or Keith Thurman. I think Sean will beat everybody. You know, will be favorite. You put him in there with Floyd. You put him in there with Floyd, it's gonna be some problems. You know, he gonna keep up with Floyd with foot. He gonna make Floyd on the ropes. He gonna try to hit Floyd. And Floyd, you know, when you get in somebody with Victor Ortiz who had young energy, who ain't as athletic as Sean, but punch better than Sean, I think the Victor Ortiz fight will be what Sean Porter did. And Sean Porter and Kenny not gonna let that he's not gonna have mental lapse where Ortiz got knocked out. I think Sean Porter might be the most competitive fight out of today's landscape. When you talking, he may not win, but it's gonna be competitive. Sean is gonna give Floyd all types of problems because not only does he have lateral movement, the foot movement, unlike Madonna, but he still kept up with Floyd. He got the speed. Sean is probably the fight that I say, if knowing what I know about these fighters or knowing what I don't know, if Larry Merchant said, can Terence Crawford keep maintain his skill level versus the elite like Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, if you want to call those elites. But I do know Sean has fought those guys. I do know Sean would probably, if you had to bet him, I would say Sean would probably, I know more about Sean. If he gave Floyd a competitive fight, you talking about Errol Spence. I'm going to do a live today probably on it if you guys want it. You talking about Errol Spence. Tough fight. Because you know what? Earl is just as long as Floyd, if my memory serves me correctly. Let me some Q-tips, huh? Earl is just as long as Floyd. Earl is stronger than Floyd ever been at welterweight. You know, and I think people saying, well, Earl not slick. Earl understands slick language. And yeah, he got 70. That's another tough fight for Floyd. He got to take away Earl jab. He got to take Earl jab away. Simple as that. He able to take Earl jab away. Then we talking about a different scenario. But Sean Porter did it. But it's gonna be an interesting fight because Earl gonna push Floyd back all night. And I think if I was his coach, I would tell him to aim at Floyd's elbow, aim at his shoulder, aim at his chest, aim at the top of his head. And then, you know, it's going to be competitive. But I think Sean Porter going to be, I'm not saying Sean Porter a better fighter than Earl style make fight. I think Sean Porter is just a tough fight. You talking about what Larry Merchant said about Bud. Yeah, right now, Bud, the level that Bud show, it might not be the best fight. But I think, let me finish on Earl. With Earl, he got a chance. His jab is straight. We seen Oscar De La Hoya. I'm not saying Earl jab is Oscar De La Hoya. None of these guys. But he struggled versus De La Hoya. He had some issues versus Baltimore. Even though Roger wasn't in his corner, I think Earl, that southpaw long jab, Earl gonna win some rounds. I'm gonna say that's probably gonna be 8-4. Because he ain't got enough power to keep Earl off, from what I know now. 8-4. No more 9-3. I think it's really gonna be an 8-4 fight, but it might be Earl strong motherfucker, bro. So Earl is best at welter. That's gonna be I pick Floyd, maybe 8-4. And I'm not saying this make him lesser than Earl or lesser than Terence or lesser than Sean. It's all about styles, but I think Earl getting Mayweather just not as physically primed or physically fit at 40. So I don't think he find a way to beat Earl, but with Terence, I think Earl could be 50-50. You know, people want shit on Sean, but I think Sean is 50-50. And I think with Terence, longer fighter. The thing will get Terence in trouble if Terence can take this style to an elite level. Talking about Floyd, the only thing to get Terence trouble is will Terence get impatient and take a chance. That's the only thing with Terence. Will he get impatient and take a chance? You know, because if it's just a battle of the wits and the battle is just putting information in his head, it's gonna be a boring fight. If Terence chooses to make the fight, it's gonna be a tough fight. It's gonna be a tough fight. You know, it's gonna be a tough fight for him to win because Floyd is a master counterpuncher. But if he make Floyd counterpunch and make Floyd come to him, you know, it's gonna be a tough fight for Floyd. But I think Terence is physically stronger than Floyd at 47. He punched harder than him. He got the southpaw left hand. But Floyd didn't fight these guys. He fought Chop, almost got dropped. He fought Shane, almost got dropped twice. He fought Zab, he got dropped. What I'm trying to say is, people saying, well, Floyd would beat him. Floyd didn't fight these guys in this era. You want to say Paul Williams, you want to say Joshua Clottey, you want to say he didn't fight Sergio Martinez. We forgot that last night. It got deleted because battle rapper played background noise. It was a mistake. You want to say Shane Mosley during his prime? You know, Shane moved on to bigger things. Vernon Forrest. You know, you talking about those guys? Winky Wright. He didn't fight those guys. You can say what you Austin Trout. He didn't fight those guys. Erisani Lara. He didn't fight those guys. So you can't say, well, Floyd would have beat him. Floyd didn't beat the niggas in his era easy. Zab gave him a problem. Chop gave him a problem. Who else you got? Shane almost dropped. So people saw Shane was an older fighter. People say, well, he looked good versus Margarito, but Margarito just got caught for hands versus Nazim Richardson. I was watching that fight live. We didn't really know what happened until like middle of the fight, or maybe the end. But like I said, Floyd, you can't find an Errol Spence on his resume. You can't find a Sean Porter on his resume. You can't find a Keith Thurman on his resume. You can't find a Terence Crawford on his resume because he didn't fight him. He didn't fight Devin Alexander, the southpaw. He didn't fight Timothy Bradley. He didn't fight Clotty. Say what you want to say. Sides of the streets. Mike Tyson. Well, Don King found a way to make those fights. It was money in fighting Floyd. It was money in fighting Mike. It was money in fighting Floyd. He made those fights. With Don King, even with Bob Arum, it wasn't no sides of the streets. You know, and people are going to defend Floyd, but show me the dudes that he fought in his prime. Zab came off a loss. Even though he did fight Baltimore after he beat Zab, he came back and fought Zab. Zab came off a loss. Chop was in his prime. Good fight, but Chop wasn't the leader of the league, and Chop still fighting. This fought Bare Knuckles. Who else he fought? Shane was old. Talk about Shane. Shane fought Winky Wright. Fought Vernon Forrest and lost, I think, twice, right? But Shane fought those guys. And that's the problem. Floyd didn't fight those guys. Shane probably fought the Cotto when he was early in his career. That's before the Margarito situation. That was on pay-per-view. Cotto fought Zab, you know, after the Floyd thing, but didn't fight Corey Spinks for whatever reason that was. You know, Corey probably moved up to 54, and I thought Corey beat Jermaine Taylor at in 160. That's my opinion on that. I watched that fight live. It was on HBO. But Floyd didn't fight those guys. We talk a little bit about later on live if y'all want to go live. Don't forget me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. On my social media description. Facebook will link there as well too. Want to make a financial donation? Cash App CJ Good 313. That's in the description. PayPal link there as well too. Best way to donate. Share the video. If you haven't, subscribe button, comment. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not saying that Floyd not great, but we gonna do, if y'all want it, Floyd versus the field of the day. But I appreciate it. Even the version of Canelo today, if we get him down to what, 155, 157. Appreciate it. Subscribe, share, peace.